I have fallen in love with not just the traditional dress, Mr. President, but both the tangible and intangible culture. It could be culinary heritage, it could be their artisanship, it could be their songs and their dance, it could also be their rituals, Mr. President, it could be their written language, because we have various scripts and languages. We have languages as many as our indigenous peoples groups. In fact, the Komisyon ng Wikang Filipino is mandated to document and preserve these languages as well. If we have endangered species, we have endangered languages. So yes, we love and value everything, both tangible and intangible, about our culture as Filipinos.
Thank you. What a beautiful answer, Mr. President. This brings me to the meat of my interpellation, Mr. President, which is to inquire if the lady has ever had a paramour who is an IP. Because she's fallen in love with everything that is IP. So I think must be more to it, Mr. President. No, but I withdraw the question, Mr. President. I withdraw the question, Mr. President.
The gentleman need not withdraw the question, because I will answer any and every question, Mr. President. I will not shirk.
I did not want to put her on the spot, Mr. President.
I am used to being put on the hot seat.
Yes.
Mr. President.
So I withdraw the question, Mr. President.
I answer it anyway, Mr. President. I am sorry to disappoint Your Honor, Mr. President, but this representation did not have a paramour who is an IP. However, I love and value and respect every indigenous people's culture and tradition and seek to keep it alive.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a lot of follow-up questions, but I will no longer pursue them based on the answer of our beautiful colleague from Antigua.
Way back in 2015, we sponsored Republic Act number 10689 in this chamber, which declared August 9 as National Indigenous Peoples Day in recognition and protection of the rights and causes of the IPs across the country. Pagkalipas ng 7 taon, labis ko pong kinagagalak na makitang mas binigyan ng halaga ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino ang ating mga kapatid na katutubo. Every day, we see more Filipinos transforming their traditional textiles, their materials into beautiful contemporary pieces such as clothing, furniture, artisan works, artworks. We also see an outpouring of public support for such creations. It is no secret that I, together with many of our colleagues, have a deep love and appreciation for these so-called tropical fabrics and native products. Indeed, today is a fitting recognition of our IPs who give meaning to our identity as Filipinos. As we honor our IP brothers and sisters, the bearers of our cultural diversity and their overwhelming contribution to our rich arts, culture, and heritage, may we also be reminded of how far we still need to go. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, nararapat nating bigyang pansin ang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga katutubong Pilipino at bigyang lunas ang kanilang mga suliranin, lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya. There are 110 indigenous peoples groups in the Philippines, with each community possessing their own traditional knowledge and practices. More than expressing our appreciation for them, August 9 should serve as a constant reminder that we should provide the needed support for IPs to strengthen their part in nation building. It is also a timely reminder for us to craft and promote measures that benefit our IPs and value their rights as we continue to protect our cultural heritage amid the challenges of modernization. The ways and means of our IPs may be considered ancient by some compared to those of modern society, but everything that defines us as Filipinos is rooted in its creativity, resourcefulness, passion of our forefathers. For these reasons, we continue to advocate for policies and programs that would give respect, recognition due to our IPs. We have the National Museum's Baybayin Gallery and the Malilikha ng Bayan Gallery. We have dedicated efforts also in reviving the age-old tradition of weaving, creating the country's first permanent textile gallery, Hibla ng Lahing Filipino, and the traveling exhibition before the pandemic to destinations like New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, Geneva, Singapore, by our weavers and some of our IPs. We've also supported the schools of living traditions, as well as the documentation of indigenous and traditional practices. As a legislator, we have jointly advocated for the strengthened protection of the rights and cultural heritage of our IPs. Then, in 2011, way back, we successfully organized regional assemblies in Baguio for the Luzon IPs, in Davao del Norte for the Mindanao IPs, in Iloilo for the Visayan IPs, and the first National Indigenous Cultural Summit that served as avenues for dialogue with local and national policymakers as well as international institutions. As Congresswoman of Antique, and we have indigenous peoples, we have the Iraynon Bukidnon, we have the Atis as well. We filed a resolution at the time to protect their indigenous heritage, but this was in relation to Cordillera garments that were counterfeited fabrics from abroad that copied Cordillera fabrics. Maski na po tayo representante ng Panay noon, ay humingi po ng tulong ating makapatid na taga Benguet at sa Abra at sa iba't ibang mga may katutubo na kinokopya po ng bansa sa Asya ang kanilang mga disenyo na walang paalam.
Bismillah. Nais ko lamang po sundan ang napakagandang talumpati ng ating maganda, magaling at tunay na representante ng ating mga katutubo. Ginang Senadora Loren Legarda. Napakaganda po nung sinabi ng ating senador De La Rosa Bato, idol. She walks her talk. Ang ganda. Ngayon lang ako nag-English. She walks her talk. Pero ang ganda sabihin eh. Sa Tagalog, inilalakad mo po ang inyong mga sinasabi. Ibig pong sabihin eh, kayo po hindi nang bobola. Mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, tunay na ang pagmamahal sa inang kalikasan ay tunay na pag-ibig sa ating kayamanan ng mga natibo. Tunay rin na ang bumubuhay sa ating kabundukan at karagatan ay ang mga paniniwalang pangkalikasan ng mga dugong bughaw na lumads. Sapagkat ang pag-aalaga at paggalang sa kalikasan sa kanila ay pakikipag-usap sa Panginoong may likha. Karugtong ng kanilang pagkatao at pagkakalikha ang magandang kinabukasan ng inang kalikasan. Kaya't, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, itinutulak ko po sa lupon ng kapulungan na maisulat sa lathaan ng Senado de Republika ang aking manifesto ng pagpupugay sa talumpati ng ginang senadora mula sa lalawigan ng Antique. Maraming salamat po.
Lubos po ang aking pasasalamat sa Ginoo na galing sa Kabikulan at sa Pilipinas, sa kanyang mga matatamis at malalalim na salita na galing po sa puso. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat. And gusto din po interpolate or manifest ang ating kababayan galing sa lalawigan ng Cavite. Senator Tolentino.
Ginoong Pangulo, bagamat meron po tayong listahan dito, ako po ay
susunod po tayo sa listahan.
magbibigay pugay lang dun po sa mga nakalista. Ngunit kung ang inyong pagnanais ay
Hindi po.
ibigay
Makikinig po
ang,
ako sa aking majority leader. Minsan nakakalimutan ko na hindi na po ako majority leader. Senator Raffy Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and lady from Antique. Recently po, nakakatuwa na sumisikat na po at sinusuportahan ng ating mga kababayan ang mga likhang sining ng ating mga katutubo. Dito pa lang po sa Senado, nakakatuwang makita ang pagsuot ng mga lokal na likha ng mga nagagandahan nating mga kasamahan. Of course, nandiyan si Senator Pia, Senator Risa, Senator Nancy, Senator Amy, Senator Grace, and of course, Senator Loren Legarda. And anywhere you go, you see people proudly wearing and using goods inspired by the works of our indigenous peoples. Several commercial enterprises are diving into this trend. Ang inaalala ko po ay may sapat ba na proteksyon ang intellectual property ng ating mga katutubo. Alam ko po na meron tayong Indigenous Peoples' Right Act at may implementing rules and regulations na po dito. But it seems that there is no mention of a policy or framework on how our indigenous people or indigenous cultural communities are protected when it comes to their indigenous crafts that have inspired commercial products. Bilang pinagkakitaan na ang mga prints, designed at pinta ng ating mga katutubo, they should be duly compensated for their intellectual property. After all, their work is a product of their hard work and history. Sana po ay magkaroon tayo ng policy when it comes to this to encourage the support of our local products. And possibly, it will be products that we could proudly import to other nations. But let us not forget our indigenous peoples and indigenous cultural communities. Sana po ay nakikinabang din po sila sa paggamit ng kanilang likhang sining. Maybe our Committee on Trade can look and analyze the current problems faced by our RPs and ICCs when it comes to the use of their artistic works in commercial products. What are the rules when designs are used or inspired by them? And maybe we can identify and correct the government agency that can best regulate and implement these policies. That's all, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, and I commend the very relevant speech of the lady from Antique, Senator Loren Legarda. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat.
Mr. President,
Yes,
ako po'y
Senator
lubos
Legarda.
na nagpapasalamat kay Senator Raffy Tulfo sa kanyang pagbibigay ng suporta, sa pagbibigay ng kahalagahan sa ating mga katutubo. Binabanggit ko lang po ang Senate Bill 839, Traditional Property Rights of IPs, which seeks to support our traditional artists and artisans. I hope that this bill can also be studied by our colleagues. I know that it needs refinement and protection of their heritage. Minority and my colleagues, I would be very grateful if you could help me study it and co-author it, and at the proper time be heard by the committee of Senator Padilla.
Just for the information of our distinguished lady from Antique, I myself, Mr. President, I'm an adopted son of Kalinga and Mountain Province. Because of my
Did
adventures.
you also wear Igorot outfit na bahag?
Probably when I have abs already.
No, because
Soon.
when they adopt you there, you wear the traditional dress.
Yes. Because it's not often that they are visited by national officials, no? Because
Yes.
of the distance, and it's quite difficult to go from Baguio. It'll take you another 6-7 hours, no? Probably to go to Sagada or Ifugao. Anyway, because of my motorcycle adventures, Mr. President, I had the chance to be able to visit these far-flung areas, and was able to help them. No? In our way, to our Senate, we were able to fund some hospitals in those areas, in Kalinga, Mountain Province. So that's the reason that they adopted me. Not because I look like them, but because of what we have brought help, no, to our Senate. And likewise, Your Honor, nabanggit niyo po kanina si Apo Wangod. Indeed, she is a national treasure, no? She's the only living mambabatok, no? Yung tradition that hopefully it will be carried later on by her niece or grandchildren. And when I was there, I had the chance, Mr. President, nagpatutunan rin ako kay Apo Wangod. I have a tattoo. Sabi ko, she will be a national treasure. Kaya Masakit, medyo masakit.
And your hand will be a national
Yes.
treasure as well.
Yes, here. Yung kanya signature na,
May I know whose insignia or whose initials?
that's Apo Wang Od sa signature, yung three
Okay.
dots. Yun.
Great.
And kasama na rin po yung ginagawa niyang sensor na lang. But anyway, ano niya yun parang fun. But anyway, I'd just like to commend again our Senate President Pro Tempore for always fighting for our indigenous peoples.
Because Apo Wang Od's name was mentioned when
Yes.
our Senate President Pro Tempore answered the interpellation or the manifestation of Senator Tulfo. And then here comes the manifestation of Senator JB that he has the distinctive mark or tattoo given by the
Wang
living treasured Apo Wang Od. And he tried to actually show us his left arm. So with the technology that we are using now, and with Senator JB's permission, is it okay? Is it doable that we take a picture of the said tattoo and make it part of the records of the Senate as part of the interpellation? With the permission of Senator JB? Because he actually tried to show all of us the said tattoo. So
Maybe bangaan.
it's the work of a living national treasure. So I don't know, Mr. President, if we can do it.
It is now actually in the records of the Senate with the statement made by
Yes.
Senator JV. But if you want a photographic record, I see no problem with it.
Okay, so let's see if we can do it.
And according to him, he has other tattoos, but in other
that
areas,
one only, but
other
also,
locations.
only with this permission, Mr. President. Because
only with this
May I answer that, Mr. President?
Yes.
Because, Minority Leader.
Please go ahead.
Wang Od had an issue with a vlogger who documented her doing a tattoo and uploaded it on social media according to her group without FPIC. I'm not sure if that issue has been resolved then. The issue of Senator Ejercito Estrada is, first, it was Wang Od herself who did it. It is on his arm, and he is allowing us, because she already did it to him, if he allows that mark, insignia, to be photographed. Of course, the one in his arm, not in private parts.
So
Which private parts, ma'am?
I think we are
Be more specific.
Mr. President, I think we are very clear. There's no confusion.
Yes.
So Senator JB wanted to show all of us. So let's make it part of the records of the interpellation, Mr. President. The actual.
Yes, Mr.
the actual
President,
mark.
I have here with me the picture,
The video.
Mr. President. Not just
Taken by the Prib.
not just the tattoo, Mr. President, but the picture of the great Wang Ud and our distinguished colleague, Senator J.B. Ejercito.
Okay, thank you very much for the record.